going out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggett representing Team JVS. I am here for a spoiler-filled review. This was one that I couldn't skip out on doing a spoiler-filled review. The ironic thing is I legit have done and seen so many things since the last time I've even seen this movie. I've gone to New York Comic-Con. I just went and saw today Gemini Man. Have not even done the review for that. And I just got done looking at The Flash tonight. And I honestly need to go and check out Titans, the newest episode now. But this movie that was directed by Todd Phillips, co-directed by Scott Silver, starring, of course, Zazie Beetz, Robert De Niro, and the amazing Joaquin Phoenix, and probably one of his best refined performances of his lifetime. I could not do a spoiler review on it because there's just so much to uncheck. The only regret that I have is that I've only seen the movie once. So I apologize to you guys ahead of time if I'm not efficient in the things that I recall or talk about, or just miss something in general, or if I start to ramble. I apologize ahead of time, okay? But I'm gonna do my best to unwrap this amazing, beautiful masterpiece in and of itself. So from break, I think that this movie is a spectacle for multiple different reasons, but one of the biggest reasons I would say is the fact that from the opening shot of this, now, I mean, again, this is a spoiler review, so just keep that in mind. From the opening shot of the movie, bro, when you see Arthur Fleck, you know, at his desk, looking at himself in the mirror, barely having full makeup on, and they talked about this in the behind the scenes cut, and him just like trying to, I guess, sharpen his smile, so to speak. Like, he's frowning, but he's trying to make himself smile, trying to go and live out what his mom said that he should be, which is a person that's going to bring joy to the world, so to speak. And in that one action, like, he's sitting there doing this, he just stops, and then there's a tear drops. And I think that they had said that that actually legit was one take and everything. And I thought that that was iconic alone, just from break, just from the start of it. But what the reason why I wanted to bring up everything, I'm sorry I keep on looking at the computer because I'm trying to make sure I'm not stopping any of this, is when he goes down the street, when first he's going twirling with the sign, and he goes and these guys start bullying him, these kids start bullying him, take his sign, run off with it, and just the way that was filmed, the cinematography is just so beautiful and immaculate. But when he goes and he gets hit and beat down and he's holding himself, I didn't know this until find this out until the behind the scenes cut, that he's trying to make himself laugh, so he squirted out his little water container. And the funny thing is, the iconic part about the Joker is that later on that becomes like acid. Like, that's like an actual weapon. Like, that's a deadly secret weapon. But he's trying to do his best to process everything. But I'm not even talking about that. When the shot goes and it pulls back this wide scope, and he's just kind of sitting like that, and then the shot, Joker happens. To the very end of the movie, and I don't know if anybody caught it, the very end of the movie takes place in the same exact spot. This actual same exact spot is Crime Alley, fam. And not just that, it pans out and he's talking to the therapist, and for what you think in your interpretation whether or not this was real or not, it doesn't even matter. I have my own theories. I'll get into that in a second. But when he talks about, like, man, that's funny, and the person's like, well, what's so funny? He's like, you wouldn't get it. And then it goes to him imagining Bruce Wayne and everything that's happened to him, which was caused to him and done to him and abused to him, which is the catalyst of putting him into the place that he is, indirectly did the same exact thing to make something even worse in the Batman. You know what I'm saying? And the funny imagery about that is that that same exact wide angle shot, it focused on initially on Bruce for a second, then it goes in this panned out shot, and the same exact moment. And the thing is, if you take that shot, and I can't wait till when the movie comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, because I could take that same exact shot, right, and I can legit put Batman 1989 like right there in that same exact, and it's just so, oh my god, the imagery, bro, the fact that this is down Crime Alley, the fact that this is the same exact thing that's happening. It's like Bruce in and of himself wasn't really given what he really needed. You know what I'm saying? Like he made it work, but at the same time he has his own like mental issue. You know what I'm saying? Like to his own detriment. I think one of the most interesting things and profound things that happened when I looked at the Hush animated movie is when, you know, him and Catwoman having this interaction, and like he tried to basically save a villain and basically almost killed her and him in the process, and she was like, you have a problem, you can't stop. It's not that, you know, I am a klepto or like I can't not steal. Like, no, you can't stop doing this. This is actual mental illness, because that's something that's defined you. You refined it and is using it as a good thing, but it's not something that you can turn off. Much like the most amazing thing about Joaquin Phoenix's character is the fact of his laugh. I've been waiting to talk about all this, I'm sorry. The fact is that with his laugh, it legit hurts him to actually laugh. It is actual a mental condition that he actually has, due to what we thought initially was something that he was just born with. I'll get into that in a second. But every single time he laughs, it's like it chokes him up. He can't stop, and he literally has this spasm out, almost like I would think about somebody that has like Tourette's. Last person that I seen try to depict something like that was in the Motherless Brooklyn that I think Edward Norton was working in. But either way, it's like it just comes on and he can't stop it. And he even has a card that says that this is my problem, please return the card back. And I think that one of the things I wish they would have done is had a scene that drew out that to the point that, you know, when he actually would stop. Like when the tantrum, it's almost like when you think about somebody that has an asthma attack and they can't stop what's going on. Like that's the same exact situation. And then from a mental level and mental illness such as that, you know what I'm saying, like that's something that should be treated. Like he should have somebody with him 24/7. Now granted, that's demeaning, it's demoralizing in some places, and I mean, one of the things I loved about the Peanut Butter Falcon was, even though he had a caretaker, Shia LaBeouf's character didn't treat him such like that. You know what I'm saying? And that was, I thought that was really interesting representation of somebody that does have a mental illness issue, but the reality of what can actually be, you know, from the betterment of somebody, the immersion, the help, the gravitas of having somebody having your back. This movie is the complete opposite of that, because this man don't get nothing, bro. And this goes back to what I was saying. We thought initially that the man just had, like, this was what he was born with. Man, they go and deconstruct everything to the point that we find out that, and this was a crazy scene. The scene when he went to Arkham Asylum and went to find the medical records for his mom. And I have to go back in a second, but I want to get to my point first, is that when he was there with your boy Paperboy, and Paperboy was like, you said this your mom? Yeah, you can't look at it. He was trying to spare him from doing that. And this man legit sit there, bit his head on the thing, grabbed it, and then came to realize that not only was he not even his mom's child, like he's technically nobody. It's like he was a John Doe. He was left somewhere for somebody, and she just happened to have him. But the fact is, the sad fact of it is that legit, whoever she was with before, legit abused her, abused him, and had him tied to like a, what is those old things, those heaters. And so he probably ended up getting brain damage from the abuse from even being with the mom. And so it was like, going back before all this, you know, he was like, alright, I'm gonna roll with the punches, and I'm sad my life is like this. I don't really like myself. All I have is negative thoughts. He's not getting help from his psychiatrist. They don't have the funding to go and do anything. Everybody around him just doesn't really help. They're really out for self, and the self-preservation of the city is at an all-time low anyway, so it's not like anybody even wanted to help. He thinks he has a relationship with somebody that is not even real, with Zazie Beetz. On top of that, come to find out all this entire time, like his mother had an actual mental condition, and she came to really be obsessive over not Bruce's Wayne, but Thomas Wayne. Now, there's an evidence thing in this one that's kind of an Easter egg. Is there's an actual picture that says, to you with love, TW. And it's a picture of her, I believe. And it begs the question, is it true? Like, are those records actually falsified? I don't really. Now, I love that you don't really know. That's the beauty of this movie. You really just don't know. But based on what the facts that they gave us is that she was obsessive. He, I guess, respected her enough to whatever, but he technically let her live in poverty. Didn't get her any mental help that she actually needed. I don't know if she went to jail or if they just kind of just like, man, get away from me. But ultimately, it was some messed up. Either way, Thomas Wayne still looks like the bad guy. And on top of that, like, Arthur for a while thought that Bruce was his brother. And so this man goes up to the gate, bruh, puts his hands on this man. And there's two different moments in this movie that were just so uncomfortable for me. Because, like, initially, like, Arthur was trying his best to do the right thing. And it's just kind of like a good example of him being on the bus with the black lady. And, like, you know, trying to make the son laugh. And then, like, she fussing at him and it made him nervous. And when he got nervous, he couldn't stop laughing. And then he had to give her the card. And then it's just a sad moment. But he just really was trying to, you know, bring joy to the kid. That was all he was trying to do. By the end of the movie, like, he, technically puts hands on a child that's not his inside of their home. Puts hands on somebody else outside of a gate, which I assume was actually Alfred. I'm not sure. You guys let me know what you think. On top of that, when it came to Zazie Beetz, bro, I don't know what y'all felt, but when I found out that this man, much like Kings of Comedy, made up in his mind this ideal relationship with this woman, I was like, dang. He doesn't have anybody. Because the mother lied to him. She half crazy. And, I mean, she seemed so sweet. You know what I'm saying? But I knew something was off when she kept on, like, repeating the same thing about Thomas Wayne. But that could be some truth to that. There really could be that it might have been an interaction. I don't really know. Either way, nobody around him helped. And what ended up happening, going back, like I said, two different uncomfortable moments. When he went back to her place after finding out who his mom was. No, actually, no, he killed his mom. Did he kill his mom? Yeah. Yeah, he killed his mom. That was messed up. That was messed up. That was bad. And then he goes back to her apartment. Bruh, they didn't even show. And you know for a fact that she's got a daughter. You know for a fact she's got a daughter. And he's in her house. He's not on his medication. That's a whole nother thing. And I'm left to assume that he killed both of them. Like, I really am. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's left up to interpretation. But my assumption was that he killed both of them. And I don't even know in what ways. Because he had evident physical attraction to her. And, well, it was one graphic lewd scene when he was, where was it? When he got the phone call about getting on the show. I think he was masturbating. That was a really random, lewd scene, and it was very uncomfortable. But the whole entire movie just felt so uncomfortable. What was my most uncomfortable moments that I kind of felt? Train sequence was so viscerally uncomfortable because I didn't know what they were going to do to him. I didn't know what they were capable of. I honestly felt like this man, like, legit might get physically and sexually assaulted by these terrible men. That's legit way it felt so uncomfortable. When he was gone and looking at something on the television, and he realized he didn't have any more medications, and he just was sitting there waving the gun around. And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's a nudge to the taxi driver. So what, bro? Like, it doesn't matter. And it was like, there was a point when he went and got into the refrigerator, and I was like, yo, yeah, he needs help. He really, like, the whole entire time, I'm like, bro, somebody needs to help this man. And nobody was at all. And so, the hard thing about the film, I mean, I haven't hot shooted to the end yet. But the reality of the hard point of this movie for me was the fact that Gotham in and of itself was indicative of the reality that we are dealing with now. A place where people feel as though they aren't being heard, they're not being helped, they're being abused, they're being taken advantage of, and the middle class or the upper class are in this place of like thronehood that it's like there's nothing and no one that'll help. And it's like, the sad thing is, like, in certain instances, when I was sitting there, I was like, there was no way, shape, or form, in my personal opinion, would I condone or be like, yeah, nah, they got what they deserve. Like, the guys that were on the train, no. The guy that was his friend, technically, wasn't his friend, because he kind of was just trying to look out for himself, that he ended up murdering. Bruh, he killed him in his house, and he freaking, I thought this man was going to take that midget and throw him out the window. For real, for real. And the way that he handled that was such a Joker moment, because he was like, you know, you've always been kind of good to me. You can go. And I was like, the funny thing is the placement and the cinematography for that, because I saw him lock it, and I was like, he gonna kill this man. And I was sitting there trying to reach. He was like, yo, can you help? He was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he let him go. And that's such a Joker moment. The metamorphosis is just so amazing. Like, for real, for real. But that still wasn't right. And even with Robert De Niro, like, it was kind of telling that he initially, the whole entire time, had planned to blow his brains out on the show in front of everybody. And it was like, that was what he was going to do. And like, Robert De Niro's character just kept pushing. And like, he couldn't stop pushing. And it's like, I was like, man. And then when he shot him, point blank range, in front of everybody, like, I was like, bro, like, it was building to this entire time. And it was like, that scene when he was in the police car is reminiscent of the scene that he was in the subway. It's just on opposite ends of the spectrum. The whole entire time he had said that, like, he thought his life was a tragedy, but it was a comedy. But the real conceptual design of that is literally parallel throughout the whole entire film. When him going up, you know, the staircase every single day and trying to get up to the top, almost feel like he can never get there, to him going down and descent into the darkness. But for him, the darkness is light and vibrant and just full of madness, and he could be himself. And like, when he was in the police car, just like watching all the chaos around and like blood smeared on his face, like, I was like, yo, that's classic Heath Ledger moment, like classic Joker moment, iconography. It was just insanity. But going back full circle, what I was trying to get at is, the reality of it is, even though all those things happen, and I would never condone any of it, it's like, it's not outside the realm of possibility of people's thought and perspective of what they can possibly do to make things change. When you have me, personally, as an African-American man, and I have a loving family, Christian, believer, love people, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I go down the street and I'm walking next to two people that happen to be African-American, Latino, whatever, minority, whatever, and by association, people look at like, oh, wow, this dude's with them. Police could go, end up, anything could happen. And if I end up getting shot, that's a whole nother thing. That's a cycle that has been concurrently happening. And it's like, what do you do to make it stop? What do you do to make a point across? And it's like, at a certain point, people have breaking points. They can't do anything about it. And all over the world, that is happening. Whether it be poverty, whether it be ill treatment, whether it be abuse, whether it be terrorism, whatever it is, people find themselves at breaking points. And once they are deprived of help and feeling of levels of hopelessness, and there's no endurance in there, then they're capable of anything. And that's one of the things that's so scary about this, because the reality of the world in the background is taken from a real visceral place. Like, it legitimately could be passed off as something that's happening right now. And that's the thing that I was scared about as a reviewer, because I was like, I don't want people to take this movie the wrong way. I want people to look at this that we don't want it to get to that point. We want to make change happen now. We don't want to have people that not only just have mental illness, but whether it be bullying, whether it be abuse, whether it be ill treatment, whether it be racial tension, whether it be racial bias, whether it be, you know, gender bias, whatever it is, that's not what we want to break people. We don't want people to break. We don't want people to have mental breaks, or even if they're dealing with a mental condition, or they're dealing with a condition within themselves about identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want it to cause a civil war. We don't want it to cause people to go and break down to that level. We want to conditionally love each other. We want to conditionally change. You know what I'm saying? And I was worried watching it. I was like, yo, the wrong person watched this and looked at it like, yo, what are they gonna think? They're gonna think like, yo, this is my reality. Like, even though they might not get behind killing or anything like that, if for a glimmer of a second they're like, well, maybe they had it going to them. If they question that, like, even when I thought about when Black Panther came out, and like what Killmonger was thinking about trying to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people were like, well, maybe he has a point. And that's not good, fam. We shouldn't even think to that level. Like, that goes beyond being desensitized. That means that you have been conditionally changed to believe that that is a realm of possibility. And once you think that's in the realm of possibility, then that's the most dangerous place that we can be as a society, as people. And it's not what God would want. It's not. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand for that. I won't stand for that. And that's not what I perpetuated even in my review, or even what I'm doing right now. I just said that that is something from an artistic standpoint that I want to make sure that Warner Brothers and us as reviewers and critics, and we're sensible in this. We don't go and be like, oh, well, anything can happen here. Or like, no, bro. Like, it's a craft of film. That's it. But the reality is, don't let this be a catalyst for you to push yourself to that level, or think that you are deserving of having this ill treatment to you. Go and seek the help that you actually really need. And I mean, going through it, I mean, Zazie Beetz' performance was amazing. Your boy Robert De Niro, bro. he kept on pushing, man. I was like, you need to let this guy. Why did you bring this man on the show, bro? Like, why? So going back to everything, a full circle. Like I said in the beginning of the movie, or beginning of this review, was this real? My theory is this, that this happened at a certain place in time, and he's been in Arkham ever since. Because, well, it could be twofold. There was a memory that he had that he was in Arkham, or something that nature, like, why aren't you, no, when he was a psychiatrist, and she was like, why aren't you still there? And he was like, he had this flashback where he's like sitting there smashing his head up against something. Now granted, there is a scene that he actually really did do that again, when he was up at the counter trying to get the message from the whatchamacallit guy. But my theory is that he did this. It's been there for a while, and they've been using him as a character study and seeing what he, because she just had such a smile on her face, and I was like, that's not Harley Quinn in any way, shape, or form. And I was like, he's thinking and processing everything, and not just that, his hair is a lot older. And so I was like, maybe he's been there for a while, and by the time that he might actually break himself out, he'd come to realize, you know, maybe this actually did put this boy in an actual stasis. Maybe I should pay him a visit, or see what's going on. Yeah, let me get out of here. So he just kills her, walks his tail out, and he gets out. And so, I mean, I don't know for sure. There is evidence to say that it's possible that all this whole entire time was figments of imagination. But I don't think that was the situation. I think more so the latter, that he probably was there once. But I mean, again, when he went and got the record, why would they let somebody that's been in Arkham Asylum have any kind of records? So, I don't know. It's up to interpretation. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the review though. What else I got? I thought I had one other thing. Ooh, when Thomas Wayne was a jerk, fam. And like all his boy Arthur was doing was, you know, pressing him about the situation. Now granted, back in the 80s, people didn't care. You might liable get shot or socked in the face just like that. So it's kind of like it's a different place and time, different environment. But it's like through Arthur's eyes, like it looks so bad. But from his eyes, like, yo, you technically went on my grounds. I know you touched my son. You luckily you're not in jail right now, and kind of situation. So it's like, is he justified? Technically, yeah. He's in his rights. You know what I'm saying? But I think the movie was just masterful and on so many different levels. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this full deep dive that I did. Score was amazing. So much stuff happened, bro. But I think I went through everything that I really wanted to say. I apologize if I forgot anything. I'm gonna be doing a full-on review later on with Three Back Geeks, so hopefully you go and check that out. But yeah, I don't got anything else. Keep it locked. JBS, we ain't gonna stop. Have a blessing, guys. Peace.